My friends, the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. They went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As they went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them. They were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When it grew late, his disciples came and said, "This is a deserted place. The hour is very late. Send them away so that they might go into the surrounding country and villages and buy something for themselves to eat." But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." And he said to them, "How many loaves have you got? Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then he ordered them to get all the people to sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven, blessed and broke the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people, and he divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were filled. They took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces of the fish. Those who had eaten the loaves numbered 5,000 men. Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and to go on ahead to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Though he was in the form of God, Jesus Christ did not deem equality with God something to be grasped at, something to be exploited, something to be held on to. Rather, he emptied himself, taking the form of a slave, being born in the likeness of humankind. Hello, Wrentham, Plainville. How are you? I've got to tell you, when I pulled into the parking lot tonight, I thought of something my very first pastor said to me a long time ago. Now, my first pastor, I'm still friendly with him. We see each other all the time. In fact, I had lunch with him yesterday afternoon. But I've got to tell you that this particular guy, if he wasn't a priest, he would have become a gangster. Because when I first met him many years ago, he constantly had a cigarette in his mouth. Well, I remember one day, I was probably ordained about a year. A pastor in a local parish invited me to come and speak to his congregation. Well, back then, I didn't know you could do that. You know, I thought they sent you to one church, and you stayed right there, and you only I didn't know you could go speak in other people's churches. So I was all excited. So I got off the phone with the pastor from the other church, and I ran down the hallway to my pastor's room, and I said, "You won't believe what happened. You won't believe what happened." He said, "What?" I said, "They've invited me to speak in Tingsboro." He took a puff from the cigarette, pulled it out of his mouth, looked at me, and he said, "Kid, Let me tell you something. Everyone will let you come and speak in their parish once. You don't get excited unless they invite you back. I spoke here in the year 2000. Thank you for letting me come back. I truly appreciate it. When I was praying about our night tonight, I immediately thought of a story, something that happened to me. This happened probably maybe 10, 12 years ago. It's very odd. The parish that I'm now the pastor of, I've been there twice. I was there from 1993 until 2003 as the priest in residence, as Father Joe mentioned, working full-time in retreat work for the Spiritual Development Office, and I lived at St. Bernard's in Newton. And 9 years ago, the Cardinal asked me to go back there as pastor, so I've actually been there twice. This story is from my first go-around. I was full-time in retreat work. And when you're in retreat work, your days off have to be Thursday, Friday, because retreats happen usually Monday through Wednesday, sometimes Monday through Thursday. And of course, you're a priest, so you've got to work weekends. So my days off were Thursday and Friday. Are you with me so far? Now, if your days off are Thursday and Friday, that means Wednesday is like your Friday. You know, you might say TGIF. I say TGIW. It was Wednesday night. I was giving a retreat in a local parish, so I was not that far away. And a couple of friends said, you know, when you're done with the retreat, why don't you, when you come back home, why don't we meet for pizza, you know, right in Newton Center? So it was a good idea to me. I was off the next day, so I said, sure. So I think that night I was speaking in Belmont, which is right next door to Newton. Celebrated the retreat, got in the car, went back to St. Bernard's Rectory to change my clothes and to go out, meet my friends for pizza. So got back home, parked the car, went inside, ran up the staircase. To get to my room, you would have to go by the pastor's room. He'd be the first room on that particular floor. And as I walked by his room, I could see that it was probably at this point, it was probably 10 of 9. He was sitting working at his desk, as pastors often do. Is Father Joe around here somewhere? He was sitting at his desk working, as pastors often do. And I walked by and I said, hey, Jerry. Hey, Dan. I said, I'm going out. See you later. Okay, bye. Went down to my room. Went to my room, did change my clothes, and then went to put the file away from the retreat I had just given. And as I stood in my room near my desk, near the filing cabinet, I thought I saw something kind of whiz by my, wow, must be a floater, I don't know. So went back to the file, put it away, and once again, something peripherally I could, so I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked at the top of a window, and what was in my room? A bat. A bat. I don't think I had ever seen a real live bat before, only in Dracula movies, you know? So there was the bat, and I didn't exactly know what to do, so I yelled down the hall. Didn't move, I stayed in my room, and I yelled down to the pastor, and I said, Jerry! He said, what? I said, there's a bat in my room, I don't know what to do. He yelled back down, come down here and close my door. Like a fool, I did. Closed his door and literally didn't know what to do. So, you know, I had seen some movies and people kind of chase bats with a broom. I didn't know what I would do with the bat if I got him, but I went downstairs, got a broom, and I'm trying to move him, and I moved him, and he went flying by me. And he went flying by me again. And he left the study, and he flew into the bedroom. And again, in the bedroom, he got on the top of a curtain. And the window was near the bathroom. And I got the broom and I stood on the bed. And I clipped him. And he fell down to the ground. And he was right over me. And I had just at the very tip of his wing, just the tip of my shoe. And the bat was there. And I didn't know what to do with him. And I looked down at the bat. And I swear to you, no word of a lie, I swear, he looked back up at me. And all I could see was Mickey Mouse's cousin. All I could see was Mickey Mouse's cousin with wings. And I didn't know what to do. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And I said to myself as I looked around the room, I can work with this. I can work with this. I kept my foot on the very tip so he couldn't fly away. And I got down. Near my desk, I grabbed a manila folder, a filing folder. And under my desk, I had a very small wastebasket. I said, okay, bud, let's try this out. I somehow got the bat under the wastebasket. I took the file folder and slid it under him to the point where I sealed him in the wastebasket. He's now in the wastebasket. And I know he's in there flailing, but he's in there and I'm holding the bottom. Thank God it was a very small room. My bathroom was literally right here. The window was open. I put the wastebasket on the window. I slid off the manila folder, and Mickey's cousin flew to freedom. And I was relieved. I was relieved. But the line that I remember, and the reason I remember the story, is the line that I said to myself as I first looked down. I can work with this. I can do this. My friends, that's the gift. That's the gift of having a relationship with God in Christ. That's the gift that we're invited to live every single day. This life of ours, filled with its ups and downs, filled with its highs and lows, is something that because of him and the grace that we are invited to be a part of, we can do this. We can do this because he didn't deem equality with God something to be grasped at. He did empty himself, taking the form of a slave, being known to be made in the likeness of humankind. He became one of us. He experienced the ups and the downs of everyday life. He experienced Good Friday, Easter Sunday, and handed that victory to us. The gospel story. One of my favorite stories for a multiplicity of reasons. Because in that story, we are given quite clearly more than one example of what we can do with him by our side. We are given more than one example as to who Jesus is for us. Jesus wanted to get away. Scripture is filled with moments in which Jesus does want to get away. Sometimes it's because he is about to make an important decision. the night before he picked the 12. He spent the night in the mountains praying to his Father. When he was met with embarrassing remarks because people didn't listen, he would go off to the desert to pray by himself to be recharged. When John the Baptist was killed, tragically at such a young age, he went off to mourn and pray. We stand in one of those instances tonight. The ministry is starting. The apostles have gone out and they've done exactly what he asked them to do. And they come back with stories and I'm sure questions, comments. And he says, that's great, guys. Let's get away. Let's go away for a while. Let's talk about this. And they do. And they're followed. He just needs a couple of minutes. Did you ever just need a couple of minutes? Just a couple of minutes. Just a couple of minutes. And they follow. They get there before him. And he comes out of wherever he was and he sees the crowd. And his heart is moved with compassion. My friends, that's the power that he shares with us. His presence in our lives is always a moment of compassion in which he listens. He listens to us. We don't even have to utter a word. He scanned that crowd and his heart was moved with compassion. And he could see in their faces the frustrations, the anxieties, the worries, big and small, the everyday stuff that can keep you up at night. He could see it in their faces. His heart was filled with compassion, and he began to teach them. And I love that two-word addendum, many things. He was there with them a while, to the point where they were all hungry. I'm going to guess, including him. More importantly, including the disciples, who wanted to get rid of the crowd. Lord, send them away. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. We don't think of the apostles speaking that way, but they did. We've got it in print. Get rid of them. They've been here long enough. Let's send them off. Get them something to eat. Jesus says, you give them something to eat. Now, they immediately go into fight mode. We can't do it. Different versions of that same story puts it in different ways, but they're told they can't do it. We don't have enough. Jesus responds, you can't do it, huh? Can't do it? You think you can't do it? Stick with me, guys. I'll show you what you can do. Keep your eye on me. Listen to me. Follow me. Use what I have to give to you. You might end up being surprised as to what you can do and can't do. Bring me what you have. Bring me what you have. And they do. And what does he do? He prays. He blesses. He breaks. And he gives it back to them. They feed the crowd. They do the very thing that they think they can't. My friends, Jesus was in their midst. And standing in their midst, he revealed to them the potential that was there all along. A potential that was unleashed because they turned to him with their frustrations and their anxieties, with their, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. You can. You can. All you and I ever need do is believe in the power of his presence and let that presence move us. You know, during the season of Lent, we do try our best to listen to him a bit more closely. But I think tonight's gospel reveals something very important to us, that he also longs to listen to us. Listening is a two-way street. We need to give him something to listen to. That's why during this season, prayer and fasting and almsgiving can be so important. When we take the time to remember that he is with us, that he is in the midst of who we are, we unleash the power that is his word. The disciples fed the crowd. The crowd was satisfied, and Jesus moved on to do it somewhere else. The power that he shared with those people that day was the power of his heart. And my friends, whenever you and I turn to him, whenever we turn to his sacred heart, we will always find compassion. And part of the rhythm of our prayer truly needs to be to allow our heart to beat in rhythm with his. We do that in the silence of prayer. That's why a time like this is so important. Tonight, he reveals to us that he is always willing to listen. He is always willing to perceive. He is always willing to look at us, to look deeply into our hearts. All he needs us to do is give to him what is in our heart at the present moment. I'm going to invite all of us right now to open our hearts to him, and in a very fearless way, whatever it may be, give it to him.